Hello guys, and welcome back to another tutorial in C#. Today I will be talking about classes, and let's start off with creating a new project, Windows Forms application, and let's call it a class test or something like that. And first thing we can do is add our class to this project, and there's two ways of doing that. You can go to project and then clicking add class, or you can go to Solution Explorer, right clicking the class or right clicking the project and add class. In this pop-up you'll be selecting the item class here and defining a name to it. And because I'm going to make a quick how-to on how to make a calculator, I'll use a calculator class. And there you have it. Visual Studio automatically makes up the code so you can start writing the class without having to write down this stuff here. This is the actual class right here. Now in our form 1 we want to be able to use this calculator, and let's say we have a new calculator. We can write it down like this: calculator 1 is a new instance of the calculator class. So by saying that you have a variable with the type calculator, you can do that by typing this. There's a new variable calculator1 with this type, but it's not yet this object. It only becomes this object when you make an instance of it, and that's by creating new calculator like this. And now this variable consists of this calculator class. And well, this calculator has a few properties. Say you have a property like value 1, a value 2, and an operator, for instance plus, minus, divide by, etc. So we can make public members, which we can define for every calculator class by doing something like this. We have a public double value 1, and we have a public double value 2, and we might have a private. Now let's just, for the example's sake, keep it a public string operation like this. Right. So if we go back to our form 1, we can say that in calculator 1 we want to set its value, and we can do that by calculator 1 dot, and then the IntelliSense of Visual Studio will automatically get a list of the things you can do with this object. And for instance, you can call value 1 and set a value to it by saying value 1 is, and then it has to be a double, of course, for instance 5.5. Same goes for value 2, 7.25, and we can also say that we want to set its operation to a plus. It had to be a string, because I've defined it to be a string here. This is not very neat. In my example, in the next move I will show a better way of doing this, but for now we just keep it like this. Right, so by doing this, by defining a calculator in a class, you can also make a new calculator without losing these values. You can also say calculator 2 is a new calculator, and that might not be a very useful thing to do with a calculator. Why would you need two calculators? Well, Of course I agree with that, but think of this as think of the class as a book. Then you can have a new book here, new book here, new book, new book, new book, new book, and then it might be obvious why you want to use classes. Say you are a library, you want to be able to use a lot of books, a lot of book classes in a efficient way. Right, and same goes for calculator 2 here. You can set those values either way you want. And these values won't be affected by these here. They won't. Right, we can also make a method here. So we could say a public double, so a method will return a double, and say we call it plus. And this will return value 1 plus value 2. Like this. We have a problem if value 1 or value 2 is empty, because then this will return an error, but let's just keep the error handling on the side for now. Let's say on calculator 1 we have set our values here, and we say message box dot show the calculated value is, and then plus calculator 1 dot plus dot to, oh, we cannot do that, dot to string. So we want to get this calculation from the calculator plus method. This will return a double, but the message box dot show needs a string, so we'll convert it to a string right here, and we'll close it off and we'll see what happens. Let's run it, and it runs like this. The calculated value is 12.75, and that's exactly what we would expect when making this calculation. Right. Let me also quickly talk about a constructor in a class. A constructor is what you can see in Form 1, and the code of Form 1, which is this method here. The constructor is a method in a class which hasn't got a return type. Like you can see here, there's no return type here. And the constructor is a method that will always be run when the program is executed. And we don't have to define it, but we could if we want to set a predefined value to some of its members, or if we would like to execute a part of the code automatically. And we can make this a constructor by just writing down public calculator like this, or a tip which might be more quickly is to type CTOR and then tab, so double tap, and Visual Studio makes the constructor for you like this. You can keep it empty if you like. If you want to add some code in the future, you can keep it like this. You can collapse it so it doesn't make up that much space here, and that's it. That will be my short introduction into classes. I'll be making a fairly complicated example with a calculator to just let you see how to use the class plus the previous chapters which I discussed already. I hope you enjoy this, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.